he runs from God. In the 8th century before the Common Era, a prophet named Jonah flees Israel to avoid a command that will change lives and nations. What follows is a strange journey across sea and soul. This is the real story. Jonah is a prophet from the northern kingdom of Israel. He hears God clearly. He is stubborn, fearful of the foreign city of Nineveh, and he chooses flight over obedience. His heart is full of conflict. When God commands Jonah to go to Nineveh and call the people to repentance, Jonah refuses. Instead, he walks toward Joppa and buys a ticket for Tarshish. In that moment, his fear of the foreign city overrides his sense of prophetic duty. He chooses escape. As the ship sails, a violent storm rises from the deep and threatens to break the vessel. The sailors panic. They cast lots to learn who is responsible for this calamity. The lot falls on Jonah. The lot is a cultural way to seek divine guidance in crisis, and it forces truth into the open. When the sailors press him, Jonah confesses he is fleeing from the Lord. He tells them his name and his mission. This admission changes the mood on deck. The men recognize a divine cause behind the storm and fear deepens, because in their belief offending a god brings cosmic consequences. As the storm worsens, the sailors ask Jonah how to calm the sea. He tells them simply, "Throw me into the sea and it will quiet." This is not a plea for martyrdom. Jonah believes that his removal will remove God's judgment from the ship. His resignation grows heavy. At Jonah's word, the crew prays for mercy, and then, with sorrow and fear, they cast him into the raging sea. The moment his body leaves the ship, the storm stills. The sailors are awed and terrified. They offer sacrifices and vows, recognizing the power that rests over this man and over the sea. As Jonah falls into the sea, a great fish sent by God swallows him. He is not killed but enclosed in darkness and wet confinement. This miraculous preservation is both judgment and mercy. In the belly, he faces absolute solitude and the consequences of his disobedience. Inside the fish, Jonah prays. He remembers his past cries to God, confesses helplessness, and praises deliverance. His prayer reads like a song. He acknowledges that rescue comes only from the Lord and pleads for life. This prayer marks a turning of heart from flight toward submission. After 3 days and nights, God commands the fish, and Jonah is vomited onto dry land. He is alive, shaken, and humbled. The sea has been his teacher. The silence in the fish has been his mirror. This return to land begins a renewed obedience born of new clarity. When morning comes, Jonah obeys God at last and walks toward Nineveh. He carries a simple proclamation: in 40 days Nineveh will be overthrown. His message is brief and stark, a prophetic warning that calls people to immediate repentance. His obedience now is reluctant but effective. As Jonah proclaims the warning, the people of Nineveh believe God. From the king to the commoner, they put on sackcloth and sit in ashes, actions that in that culture symbolize humility, mourning, and repentance. Their leaders decree fasts and call everyone to turn from violence. The city's response is immediate and communal. When God sees their repentance, God relents from the planned destruction. This divine turning demonstrates that God's judgment can be reversed by sincere communal repentance. The city is spared. Mercy triumphs over destruction. because the people changed their hearts and their behavior. But Jonah is angry at God's mercy. He retreats outside the city and sits to watch what will happen, hoping perhaps to see vindication. His anger is rooted in a nationalistic expectation that Nineveh deserves destruction. He cannot accept that God would show compassion to his enemies. As the city is spared, Jonah prays that he might die. He says that it is better to die than to live under a God who pardons the wicked. His despair shows the depth of his wounded pride and his misunderstanding of God's compassion as weakness rather than holiness. When Jonah shelters under a plant God provides, he rejoices in comfort. But when God appoints a worm that withers the plant and a hot wind that scorches Jonah, Jonah is crushed. God uses the plant to teach Jonah about compassion. Jonah grieves a plant, but refuses compassion for a city of thousands. In that quiet aftermath, God asks Jonah a single question: do you have the right to be angry? This question cuts to the heart. God reminds Jonah that divine compassion extends beyond national boundaries. The question is not academic. It demands inward change. Jonah answers with a complaint, revealing that his anger is more about pride than justice. He admits he fled because he feared God's mercy would bless those he hates. The story ends with Jonah sitting in unresolved anger, while God gently exposes the breadth of divine compassion. The book of Jonah teaches that repentance turns away judgment, and that God's mercy reaches even enemies. It confronts our smallness and calls us to a broader compassion. If this story moved you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you do not miss the next one.